Hello everyone and welcome to my kitchen garden in the south of Sweden. My name is Sara and I run this YouTube channel from my kitchen garden in English, and I have to say I am deadly nervous doing this. I have a friend of mine, Caroline. She used to say that you have to do things that are a bit uncomfortable like 3 times and then it will turn. So I guess I just have to do this to do a live video in English, because English is not my first language. So hopefully you will enjoy it and of course understand what I am saying. It is now in March in Sweden, and it is very cold. We have had a long winter with lots of snow, and it's been very cold. So I guess we are like 3 weeks behind actually when it comes to harvest like leafy greens and such things. So here in my polytunnel, usually it should be like green all over the place, a lot of leaves and everything, but it's not that far gone yet. So unfortunately, because I love to eat my leaves and I am longing to go out here. You can see here behind me a few beds with overwintered leaves, and that is what we eat at the moment actually. I get many questions about my polytunnels. I have 2 polytunnels and this is the big one. It is like 45 square meters, 9 meters long, and the width is 5 meters. So it's quite a big polytunnel for an ordinary garden. And I also have a small polytunnel. It is it's 18 square meter, and I use the polytunnels, both of them, to grow vegetables winter time. And I just love this, to be able to garden winter time. Isn't that lovely? Basically it is possible for not anyone of course, but for some people to grow vegetables in winter. You don't have to be like in southern Europe to be able to do it. You can actually do it in Sweden as well. And I do it because because I love to eat my fresh food. But when I found out that it is possible, I was thrilled about being able to go out wintertime in my garden and pick fresh food. I was criticized a few years ago by a Swedish famous gardener, saying that why should you even grow your own spinach winter time? Well, why shouldn't I if it works? So many things that I write about at my page, at my blog, sarabackmo.com, is about how to grow vegetables wintertime. And I actually finished my 3rd manuscript for a book. It's my 3rd book and it is about winter gardening. It will be able to read in Swedish in August. So when I speak about this, about how to grow vegetables wintertime, at my English Facebook, for example, and in my YouTube channel here in English, I get many questions. And today I would like to answer a few of them. The 3 most common questions, maybe. I know some of you are watching actually. Nice. Hi, wherever you are in the world. So the most common question, top of the top I think, is how do you heat your polytunnel wintertime? And that is a very, an easy question to answer, because I don't heat my polytunnels. So this place where I live, it is quite cold winter time, and you can of course heat your polytunnel and your greenhouse, but I don't think it's useful for me, because I grow vegetables also in my main kitchen garden outdoors in the open air, and I can harvest anything basically from that space, not all year round, but fresh tomatoes and everything like that for quite a long season, and I can store some of it indoors as well. So when winter comes, we don't really have a need for like corn and tomatoes and peppers, like fresh greens. We can manage with the greens I am able to grow here indoor in the polytunnel. So I think it would be like a waste of energy really to warm up this space. You can actually put like a hotbed into a greenhouse and get some extra warm, but I mean this space is too big and I would have to have a very big hotbed to make that happen, and I don't have the time really to manage to do that. So what I do instead of heating my polytunnel is to grow vegetables that can stand the heat. Good morning. It's morning where you are watching, and it's afternoon here in Sweden. I know it's a bit crazy about the time, but I know some of you will watch this afterwards, so it will work anyhow. Well, I simply choose the vegetables that can stand the cold, and there are so many vegetables that can stand the cold. We have the lettuce. We have a lot of brassica, like kale, for example, different varieties. The miner's lettuce, one of my favorite, corn salad, lamb's lettuce, parsley, not dill, it can stand quite late, but not that late. We also have the beetroot leaves. I don't know if you can spot here. The red ones here are a beetroot called bull's blood. And it's a very hardy variety to harvest the leaves. And what do I have more? Well, spinach. Did I say spinach? That's one of my favorites. So basically, I grow the leaves and I protect them here in the polytunnel, my unheated polytunnel. And what I do is that I grow the things in many different, I make the sowings in many times in the year. So the lettuce that I overwinter here in the polytunnel, I make the sowings in August and I transplant them into the polytunnel in October, and it overwinters and it gives me a harvest now in March, starting in March. And it's the same for like spinach and some brassica, the corn salad, lamb's lettuce. I can turn the camera maybe and show you here. I grow plenty of things in pots, in containers, and this is a late sowing of lamb's lettuce, and it will be ready to harvest in a few weeks. So many sowings in different times. That is what makes it possible for me to harvest greens in an unheated polytunnel. So if I could give you some example now, it's quite cold outside. I think it is 2 degrees plus Celsius, and indoor here in the polytunnel it is 20. So it's a big difference when it comes to the temperature. And I mean, this plastic shall really shelter this space good enough to make the soil warm enough for things to germinate and to keep growing, and it's like a storage place for the greens through the winter. So if I choose carefully, I can grow things all through the winter, and really they will be useful for our household. I don't know if that sounds reasonable to you, but I think some of the things when it comes to winter gardening you have to experience for yourself. It's like being pregnant, giving birth to someone. It's difficult to tell someone what is happening and how. You just know that it works. So that is my advice for you who get curious about this. Just give it a try. The other question is about the temperatures as well. Don't it freeze in your polytunnel? And I think to me it is a good thing to come into winter knowing that it will freeze. I am not afraid of the cold in that way. I am sure that it will freeze. So in only a few weeks ago, this space all over the place, it was frozen. And now it's not. It's really nice soil in here. So what I do is that I choose the vegetables that can stand the cold and I am not afraid of the cold. I shelter my beds, the garden beds, with different kinds of fabric, and I also have like plastic lids that I put on top of collars. Do you say collars? I can show you over here maybe where I have the ledges that I overwinter. So I put this collar around the ledges, and I have this fleece, and then I have a plastic lid and then I have a small tunnel on top of it, and then there's the big tunnel. So it's like 4 layers on top of this bed with overwintered ledges, and that is really good. You say that each one of this layer makes the climate zone one piece better. Do you understand me here? So I grow in Swedish climate zone 3. So basically I can keep it to number 1 by sheltering this place that much. So I am not afraid of the cold, and I am not afraid that the ground will freeze, simply because I know how to shelter the things that needs protection, and some of the things don't. In this bed, for example, I have not sheltered with anything or covered with any fleece or any plastic lid or anything. I just choose the really hardy varieties. Good morning, Jennifer. Nice to see you. So I am, and the ledges behind me here, it is a bit more vulnerable, so I shelter that carefully. It has been a difficult winter, a long winter and a cold winter, and I do have had problems with the grey mold this winter. I guess you can see that. So in this color I had maybe 100 plants of this wonderful lettuce in thread. It's the same variety as Little Gem, but with like red leaves. And this mold here you can see, it's like the leaves are covered with a fur, a grey fur, and it just kills the plants. And this happens when it is too wet. It's a big problem. So I have lost some of the plants, but one of the things I do is that I grow plenty, so I always have more than I need, so I can simply lose some of it and still have plenty of food. And while sitting here, I must show you my spinach over here. Check this out. It's like 2 square meters with lovely spinach. And that brings us to the third question about winter gardening in a polytunnel, and it's about water. Many people wonder about water, how to water the spaces wintertime. And I used to say, when it comes to winter gardening, the most work is not made in winter. Some of maybe the most of the work is done in autumn, when preparing the beds and transplanting the vegetables and make sowings, etc. And then there's like a pause in winter, when I spend time to cover things and to try to protect them from cold. And now when spring comes and the sun starts to shine, and you can see clearly how the vegetables start to grow again, then I have to water. So what I do is, when it comes to watering, I put snow on my garden beds in winter time when there is snow outdoors, and that I start with, let's say in February maybe. So and it's easy to see at the vegetables that something is needed, because they start to look a bit sad. And so I put snow on the garden beds, and if it's the mild period that happened this February, I water carefully. I mean, I don't splash water all over the place. I water very, very carefully. And then I am also careful with, I open the doors so it will not get too damp in here, because then I will have this problem with the grey mold again. So water with snow winter time, and then try to water carefully with water when it is a mild period. And now in March, when I see that the temperature rise, I start to water regularly with I don't know what you call it. Well, with vattenkanna, you would say in Swedish. You will spot one here. It's a green thing where I put water in. It's a bit difficult with the language, but I think I do quite good anyhow. It doesn't feel as scary as I thought in the beginning. So now I start to go out nearly every day. I need to water. And what happens then, thank you, Jennifer, big support. What happens when I put water in my garden bed is that it will start to grow even faster, and that is what I want now. Up here I have some of my winter sowings. I can tell you more about that in another video. And actually I spotted some, no, it's not over here. It's just a mess in here, but here I have, this is it's a very old variety of brassica, and it was made in I think in January I made this sowing, and here you can see that it germinated. And this one should be over here, really. And I covered it with a fleece, so that was basically what it needed to start to germinate. And that makes me so happy to go out here in my polytunnel to watch the winter sowings and everything when it's just start all over again and brings me food. And I think I didn't really realize how important the polytunnel would be in my gardening when I first got it. I had my first polytunnel in 2014, and it was a quite small polytunnel, and I started to experiment with it to grow vegetables winter time. And I was amazed about how good it worked and how much I could produce. So sometimes I dream about, it's quite common in Swedish gardens with a small and quite pretty greenhouse in glass, for example. What if people actually used it to produce food? And I think the reason they don't is that they don't know the possibilities. They don't know that it is possible. And I mean, one of the varieties of lettuce that I have down here, salad bowl. It is actually one of the most common salad lettuce varieties in the Swedish food stores. And I mean, it doesn't have a sign like saying, oh, this is a very hardy variety, you could grow it yourself in your greenhouse all through the winter. And it's the same with lamb's lettuce. I think it is hardy. It's said to be hardy down to 30 degrees minus 30. And I mean, basically everyone should be growing it, but we don't, because we think that small tiny leaves, they should be destroyed when it's a bit too cold. But that is only us thinking wrong things. This is the miner's lettuce. It is also one of the most hardy leafy greens that I know. Overwintered parsley is starting to grow. More lamb's lettuce, sown in October, I think. And some kale. Well, basically anything that we need. This is a very special. Oh, Jennifer asked me something. Can you tell me what the large beans are that you grow? Are they fava beans? What they look like, but you are huge in other videos. Oh, Jennifer, I think it's fava beans. I don't exactly know which video you mean, but the fava beans with the pink flowers, is that the beans you mean? Because that is fava beans. There are plenty of different varieties of fava beans, and in that video I think they are quite tall. Usually I cut the fava beans when they have produced like a few pods, because then the pods will be ready to harvest a bit quicker than if the plant are allowed to grow higher. So I guess it is fava beans. That is one of my favorites. You place them all around a plate. Yeah, that is fava beans. That is fava beans. I can link that video in the description later for those of you who have not seen it. Well, I was going to say it is not only my first premiere video in English, it is also the first day that I go without my hat. I always wear it because I don't have that much hair, but today it's so sunny and it feels just lovely to be without it. So thank you for watching today, and hopefully I will do another video in English, being a bit more comfortable to talk. And if you want to, you can subscribe my YouTube channel. I will be so happy if you do. And also don't forget to check out my Facebook account at Sara's Kitchen Garden. We are working right now to translate my webpage at sarabackmo.com for you in English. It is Sweden's and the northern countries' most read garden blog. And I am just amazed that it's this is the place it is all about. A messy garden with a mother of 4 having no time and everything, just growing food, being happy about it all. So thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.